Hi Libra, Sun, Moon, Ascendant, or Venus. This is Dane, and I'm going to be doing your June 2021 full moon reading for you. Now I ask if this reading resonates with you. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you're interested in any of the cards that I'm using, they will be listed and linked in the description box below. Now before we begin this reading, let us clear the energy space, raising our own energy vibration and releasing any negativity. So take a nice deep breath in, exhaling whenever it feels comfortable for you. Releasing all negativity from the body like storm clouds. Letting yourself feel calm, centered, and at peace as we enter into this safe and loving space. Let's let the bowl sing as we see what the tarot has to say. How will Libra be affected by the June 2021 full moon? How will Libra be affected by the June 2021 full moon? Angels and spirit guides, show me clearly. Guide this reading and show me clearly. Angels and spirit guides. Angels and spirit guides, show me clearly. How will Libra be affected by the June 2021 full moon? How will Libra be affected by the June 2021 full moon? Angels and spirit guides, show me clearly. Guide this reading and show me clearly. Angels and spirit guides. How will Libra be affected by the June 2021 full moon? How will Libra be affected by the June 2021 full moon? Angels and spirit guides, show me clearly. Guide this reading and show me clearly. How will Libra be affected by the June 2021 full moon? How will Libra be affected by the June 2021 full moon? Angels and spirit guides, show me clearly. Guide this reading and show me clearly. Angels. These, okay. Those ones right there. Fantastic. Okay. At the bottom, we have our rooted self. The left-hand side is our inner self. The middle, our heart, our emotional self. The right-hand side, the public arena, the public self. So let's see what the cards have to say in accordance to this moon, which is on the 24th of June and in Capricorn. So we have the Chariot coming up, Cancer energy, which is astoundingly important during this time, and the Eight of Pentacles, hard work paying off. The Sun is in Cancer, the Moon is in Capricorn, and this makes for conflict. It just creates conflict in and of itself. Now, during this time, the signs that have to be mindful of this moon the most are Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. So, of course, you're a Libra, right? But if you have any of these other signs within your natal chart, this is going to be coming out quite profoundly within your life. This area where this planet, or no, this zodiac sign, there we go, shows up. So do be mindful of that. Now, here on the left-hand side, we have the Six of Cups, the Hierophant, which is Taurus energy, April 20th to May 20th, and the Six of Wands. The repeat of the number 6 is nurturing energy. we have the Five of Cups, change your mind, change your life. The Two of Wands, new possibilities start to open up. In the public arena, we have the King of Cups, again, connecting with that Cancer energy, representative of water sign energy, Pisces, Scorpio, and Cancer. Then we have the Wheel of Fortune, things start to change. The Six of Cups coming up again. That's also nostalgia very much coming forward within our inner selves and playing in the public arena. And then we have the Queen of Swords. Now we're represented by air sign energy, and this air sign energy is going to be playing a huge part in the way that we're moving forward, in what we desire from our lives. The Queen of Swords is also the warrior queen. So the warrior aspect of our personality is going to be coming out. And we have to accept that. We have to embrace that sense that there's a bit of fierceness to us. There's a severe sense of direction and purpose and desire and want and revelations coming our way. Now, with this full moon in Capricorn, it says right here, the end of a tough cycle approaches. And the full moon always tells us to surrender to the divine, because that's where our power lies. Now, as we surrender to the divine and the end of the tough cycle approaches, what we see is, again, that conflict between the sun in Cancer and the moon in Capricorn. Cancer is all about the private life, home, and nourishing. Capricorn is all about the public life, career, and responsibilities. We have the battle between conditional and unconditional love coming forward. And if we've already had this battle with conditional and unconditional love in our lives, in the way that we were raised, or in the way that we were loved by a partner, or even in our work and our own creative endeavors ourselves, this is going to be something that can be very upsetting to us. We can start to see personality traits coming up that remind us of a person whose love was conditional, or a person whose love was unconditional, and it can create a sense of a void or nostalgia or hurt or pain. Of course, the conditional love is going to be Capricorn, and the unconditional love is going to be representative of Cancer. So this is how we're moving forward during this time with this conflict around us. What we want to nourish during this time, during this moon, is what is most sacred to us, while still going after our goals and achieving. And this can feel like we're being pulled in two very separate directions, because what is most sacred to us needs to be nourished, needs to be taken in, needs to be developed. And achieving our goals need to have us, out on the battlefield going after what we want. Cancer calls us to value our roots and our homes. Cancer is all about beginnings and roots. Capricorn calls us to value duty, the public and personal responsibilities, and Capricorn is all about goals. It's all about, what do I want to achieve? This is why the end of a tough cycle approaches, because I'm focused and I'm ready. Something has been building within us for a long time, and this moon is demanding that it comes out. Excuse me. And as it demands that we step forward into our power, into our wisdom, into our understanding, this is when things become emotional. This is an emotional time for us, and profound revelations come forward because we're having these conflicts come out. We're having to look at things more openly and more honestly within ourselves. And this is going to be a time where, excuse my language, but we can't bullshit ourselves. We just can't. We have to be able to say, this is it. This is what I'm going for, or these are the conflicting emotions within myself, or this is what my home life is demanding of me, and this is what my work life is demanding of me, and both are equally as important. So how do I find a balance? How do I find a harmony? And how do I express what my soul needs to be able to be nourished? I mean, sometimes, let's face it, when we have the responsibilities of home that never end, and that are always, somebody's always needing us. And then we have the responsibilities of work that never end, and somebody's always needing us. When is it time for us? When do we get to step into the role of, this is my soul, this is myself, this is what I desire, this is what I love? Now, on the 10th of July, there is the new moon in Cancer. So the sun is in Cancer, the new moon is in Cancer. This is a time where we need to focus on what we love and our loved ones. This says you and your loved ones are safe. And that's what we really need to know. We need to know that I have my family, my friends around me, those that I deeply care about are secure. If they're not secure, we can kind of go out of our way to try and bring in that security, bring in that harmony, bring in that beauty. This is also a time that brings us beginnings. If we can follow our heart, and if we can connect with our heart on the 10th of July, and around that time, our emotions are going to be coming up more and more intense, and it can be very aggravating because they're going to be coming up for more people around the new moon because it's the energy that's coming forward, especially if you're moon sensitive. So you might be sitting there having a conversation and somebody starts to get emotional about things, or somebody takes what you say and blows it out of proportion. That's because the sensitivity of Cancer energy is coming forward. And we have to respect that. We have to honor that within ourselves. And we have to be tolerant of that with other people. Or we can just be like, wow, that person is just too much right now. I need to step back. Once the power and the impact of this new moon is over, I'll call them up again. We'll talk. We'll see, where they are. That's how we're going to have to handle this new moon, because it is going to be something for us that is emotionally very intense and empowering, but also it makes us question. It makes us doubt. It makes us fear at times. But everything is moving forward to the full moon in Aquarius, which says, show the world the real you. There is enough. There is enough of hiding away. There's enough of doubts and fears and chaos and hurts and pains. The full moon in Aquarius, which is on the 23rd of July, there we go, wants us to move forward in our own power, in our brilliance. And because we're having this internal battle between our emotional side and our driven side, between the conditional and the unconditional part of our love for ourselves, but also our dedication to what we want, we're going to start to crack a really hard shell open. And as we crack that shell open, we start to see where we want to be, how we want to move forward, and what it is that we desire a lot more clearly than we have before. Now, this leads us to our chakra energy. So what is the chakra energy for Libra? Libra, June 2021 full moon. Libra, June 2021 full moon. Angels and spirit guides, show me clearly. It's the inner child. It's connecting with our inner self, our joys, our harmonies, our quests, our findings, our realizations. The inner child and the heart chakra. It's very much, that's why we have Cancer coming so strongly within us. We need to follow our hearts. We need to embrace our emotions. Now, this doesn't mean that we do what we love every moment of every single day, though that would be nice, but it would get boring after a while. What it means is that I'm connecting to my heart. I'm connecting to my soul. I'm connecting to the child that I once was. And I'm looking at that child rather honestly, because a lot of the hurts and the pains that we have now, they come from when we're small. They just do. And they're poor coping mechanisms that we developed when our worlds were small or our worlds seemed vastly overwhelming, but we're also very small, very contained. And this is a time where we can start looking at that and say, okay, how am I self-sabotaging? Why am I self-sabotaging? Who am I listening to? Why am I listening to them? Am I following a wound mate, around things that penetrate me in a way that show me the wound that I have had? Things that affect me in a way that make me feel insignificant or make me feel overwhelmed or make me feel doubtful. How do I connect with the inner child? Now, with this comes an exercise that I love to do. And it's just visualizing us as adults, standing in front of the child that we were, or, at a playground or something like that, where we used to be really happy when we were little. And just having that child come out, that child that we were, come out and running into our arms like children do to parents or to their caregivers, and just being wrapped up in a hug, connected, loved, and telling that child, I'm here for you and you are safe. If you weren't that type of child who liked to be cuddled and hugged and wouldn't have run up to the adult that you are today, sitting down, coloring next to them, saying, I'm always going to be here to listen to you. I always value your opinion and your words. Because so much of us are still that child that we once were, and still have the insecurities of not being enough, or, not being able to measure up, or, whatever it is that we took on as children, being able to look at that openly and honestly for ourselves. And it starts us to be able to heal in a very powerful way. And it brings us then to the energy that we have to be mindful of. What is the energy that Libra needs to be mindful of for the June 2021 full moon? What is the energy that Libra needs to be mindful of for the June 2021 full moon? Angels and spirit guides, show me clearly. It's Cancer. It's the Chariot. So as much as connecting with the unconditional love side of us, as much as connecting with the sun's power, it can burn us up. It really can. It can be that life becomes too emotional. The pendulum swings in the completely other direction, and all life is feelings and emotions and sorrows and intensity and everything in between. Well, not everything in between, but it's the intensity of emotion that comes forward. So being able to say, I see this in me. I see this part of my personality. I see this part of myself. And I understand it. Also knowing that we're going to be very attracted to people like this. People who are always having a drama, one thing after another after another. And a part of us is going to think, oh my gosh, aren't they exhausted? Like, can't they just stop? Can't things go well for them? And we're going to be torn because there are some times in life where you fall and you're being kicked and life is it just keeps on kicking you. I mean, Lord knows I've been through times like that where you would think, like, can't you just stop it? Like, can't you just stop the fall? It's like, no, I can't. Everything I try, it isn't working. I keep on falling. It's terrifying. It's overwhelming. If you have people like that in your life, then being there for them is important, but also having severe boundaries, being very honest and saying, I can't fall down that rabbit hole with you. I can be here. I can listen. If you can go through the horror of living it, I can go through the less uncomfortable realm of listening to it. So that's important. But we also have to be very mindful of the people whose lives are just tremendous trauma all the time. Hurt and pain and disappointment and anger and upset and fear. And it's never going to stop. And they live in that and they build that. It's like they're the Eight of Swords and they will be the Eight of Swords forever. So don't get caught up in that trap, because that will be a trap. And that's something where it's like runaway horses. It'll just run over us. Now at our root is Cancer energy, the Chariot coming through again. And now this is the time frame, June 21st to July 22nd. This is very much a sense of this time revelations come. This time I get to see how I fly forward, how I move, how I express myself, what I desire, what I want, what I need, and where it is that I want to be. I'm looking at things more openly for myself. I'm looking at things more honestly for myself. And this is a time where we need to connect with our emotions. But again, we have to be very mindful not to let the emotions be a runaway train, because that will be very bad. A runaway train is just not good. And so here with the Chariot energy coming in, it's knowing that the Chariot was used and was manned by kings and queens and emperors and pharaohs. And so there's knowing that there's a royalty at our roots. There's a power, a brilliance that is a part of us that we need to move forward with. And it brings us to the Eight of Pentacles. Our hard work, our dedication, our perseverance is paying off. Now, when we talk about hard work, a lot of times we think, if I keep my head down and I shut up and I just do what I'm supposed to do, I'll get the recognition. It doesn't always work that way. People think, oh, okay, you're comfortable just like this. Or they don't even notice us. They're like, oh, okay, you're that working cog in the clock that I don't see. So during this time, we're going to see the things that we dedicate our time to paying off. And we have to make sure that aligns with what we want. If we're more than happy in our position, we don't want more responsibility, then we have to realize that and be able to work towards what we want to shine in, where we want to move forward in within our lives. Having side projects, having things that are able to speak to our souls, speak to ourselves, are going to be so intrinsically important. But our hard work is paying off. But again, where Spirit shows recognition, it doesn't mean that people at work will all of a sudden start to turn to us and say, wow, you know what, you're a really good worker, you're really good at what you do, keep up the good work, or I'd like to add you onto this team, or this or that. It might not mean that at all. What it means is that we're growing from what we're learning. We're starting to see things and things that connect in a very different way than we have before. Because this is like our 10,000 hours. We're becoming a master at something. And it might not be, answering a phone or taking reservations. I worked at a hotel for a while. So those things might not be what we are becoming good at, what we want to do for the rest of our lives. But they are forcing us to step out of our comfort zone, to have to interact with other people, have to connect in different ways. And it's crafting something that is beautiful. It's crafting the points of the star, which are the points of the human body, the head and the arms and the feet, very much like Da Vinci showed. So here, this crafting, this power, this focus brings us to a place of nostalgia, when things were easier, when it wasn't so hard, when responsibility after responsibility didn't add up and weigh us down. And we have to be very mindful because we have this Six of Cups in the inner self and in the public arena. We're going to be nostalgic for the past. It's going to be things were better when. And, sometimes things were better in our own world when we were small, when other people paid the bills, when it was others' responsibility. Yeah, that's true. But we have to look for how things are good for us now, where we stand now. This pulls us into the past, and it does two mind games with us. One is it brings us to the rose-colored glasses of when we perceived everything to be beautiful. But it also brings us to the gray-colored glasses that stole away the color, when we have those people in our lives that spoke down to us, that hurt us, that, demeaned us in one way or another, and we couldn't stop them. And those words can be coming back. Those emotions can be coming back. That sense of helplessness can be coming back. And we have to stop it. We have to nip it in the bud and say, no, you don't get to have that power over me anymore. It isn't a quick fix. It isn't so easy to do. But what it is empowering when we get to see ourselves stopping that negative voice within our heads, that negative part within ourselves. That is the voice of a caregiver. That is the voice of a teacher. That is the voice of a friend, a lover, whomever it was, that made us think less of ourselves and started to change the trajectory of our souls because they beat us down. And it brings us to the Hierophant. Now, the Hierophant is very interesting because the Hierophant is represented by the Pope in the major arcana, right? In the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. And in medieval times, the Hierophant told kings and queens what to do, and emperors what to do. He just had that much power. And so during this time, we need to align with what we want. And this is a time where we tell ourselves what we want, what we desire, and who we are. We start to pay attention who we intrinsically are, what we intrinsically want from life, how we're trying to move forward, what we're going after, our hopes, our dreams, and our desires. This is a time where there's power within us. If we hold on to it, if we embrace it, if we see it, if we understand it, there's a sense of freedom, there's a sense of brilliance, and there's a sense of something more coming. And it leads us then to the Six of Wands, which is a very different six than the Six of Cups. The Six of Cups is nostalgia in the past, and as we embrace the Hierophant, as we say, no, this is intrinsically who I am, and if I honor this within myself, I honor a huge part of what I love in my life, of what I want from my life, of where I'm headed, what I desire, what I need, what I long for, and me. Have you ever noticed that when we go against a part of ourselves that we thought, oh, I'd never do that, and then we do it, and we just feel a little bit rotten, like a little bit less than, or anger starts to build within us. And we don't know why we're so frustrated. We don't know why we're so angry. We don't know why, the motivation isn't there, but the anger and the hurt and the resentment is. It's because we're not letting ourselves shine as the Hierophant. We're not letting ourselves have that connection with spirit, have that connection with what we desire, to move forward in our dreams and our hopes, and to a greater place, a greater connection. And it leads us to the Six of Wands. It's like, if we can do this, if we can have that power of voice, then all of a sudden we start moving forward in success. We start holding ourselves differently. People might say, oh, why are you putting on airs? Or, oh my gosh, you always think you're better than everybody else. It's not that. It's that we get to move forward towards joy and towards desire and towards seeing that there's a purpose to us. We're not just a mistake. And that leads us to holding our heads up high. Spirit always shows me the Six of Wands as a really good boss. A boss that comes in and you're like, yay, the boss is here. And this person is going to see all the things that I did, or, going to give some really good guidance, or, whatever. Or it's that boss that always nitpicks, that they give you a list of things to do and you do that list of things and you're helping the customers and you're doing everything, and yet they still nag you. Or you're, seeing patients and they still nag you. And you're like, oh my goodness, what the heck? I'm doing my best. And I'm doing everything that you wanted. But you're always adding more. You're always pushing that bar out. And you're always making it so that I can't reach it. And we could have experienced that before. With a caregiver, with a lover, with a friend. It was just never enough. And so we're going to internalize that and start to feel guilty. And what Spirit is saying right now is like, don't you dare look at things and say, oh my gosh, what should I have done differently? How could I have changed it? Sometimes we do need to look at things like that and say, okay, what could I have done differently? But if we are looking at the situation and being honest with ourselves. And it's like, I have to stop beating myself up. I have to stop this endless downward spiral that will never end. That's why it's endless, of course. That will always lead me to the same place. Like, it's my fault. I can't. It's time to look at what we failed at the hurts and the pains and the disappointments, and say, okay, I see you. I see you and I understand you, and I get it. I'm not perfect and I've messed up. And now we turn around and we see the Two of Cups standing beside us. We see the Minor Arcana Lover's card. We see unity and connection and hopes and dreams and passions and desires. And it's like, oh, there's more to this. There's more to this than I realized. There's more to me than I realized. And I have to step away from the darkness, from the cloak that is over me, from the despair that is a part of me. And it moves us to the Two of Wands. We hold the world in our hands. And we look into the world. And we start to see where we stand. And it might not be that we have a platform of millions, right? It might not be that we are CEOs of companies. It might not be that we're world renowned. But where do we stand? And why do we stand there? What is it that we want from life? And how can we move forward in this passion with the moon and the sun, kind of pulling us in different ways, having these different, pulls between us? The sense of give and care and nurture, and the other one saying take care of yourself and look at your goals and look at your responsibilities, because both are important. And if we don't listen to both of them, if we don't find this happy medium, we lose a sense of who we are. We lose the purpose of why we're on this earth. And it brings us again to the Six of Cups. Well, not yet, actually. It brings us then to the public arena and the King of Cups. The King of Cups is like my favorite king, because he's the king that says, I only rule myself. That's it. That's all I got. I rule me. And as I rule me, I lead by example. Because the King of Cups in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, he's out in the middle of the ocean. There's water around him and a ship off in the distance, but he's not on land. There's no cities behind him. He's solitary. And in this world, as harsh as it might sound, even if we're surrounded by millions of people, we are solitary. We connect with our hearts and our thoughts and our emotions and our way of seeing things. And so by doing so, we start to connect with our power. Or we can feel overwhelmed and fall away from it and let everybody else's voice take over our own. But this is a time where we need to connect with our power and our desire and be a king, a ruler, a person who sees things more clearly and more openly than maybe we had ever thought of seeing things before. And as we do so, it brings us to the Wheel of Fortune. It starts to change things. We start to change. We're entering into a new season. We're looking at things more openly, more honestly. We're being more tenacious. We're entering, again, into that new season, which might not be a season that we like, because, we have our summers and our winters, our falls and our springs, but it's a season that we need to go through. And as we go through this, again, the nostalgia is going to be coming up. This sense of, am I doing enough? This sense of, it was easier when. This sense of old negative thoughts coming forward and undermining our confidence. How do we deal with that? Will we embrace who we are, the Queen of Swords? We look at things openly and honestly, tenaciously and fiercely. And as much as the King of Cups says, I rule only me, the Queen of Swords says, I am the ruler of me. Period. End of discussion. And it doesn't sound like there's a big difference, but I rule only me is calmer. I am the ruler of me. I am the person who sets the laws. I am the person who moves things forward. I cut through the nonsense, the fears, the doubts, the tangled webs. And I push forward towards brilliance and beauty and intensity. The sword is the only weapon in the tarot, and that is unbelievably important in the way that Spirit shows me these cards. Because this is the thing that takes skill and effort and time. The swords killed, and the swords showed nobility. And yes, you trained on a staff before you were given a sword, but the sword was the main goal. And the sword was not given to anybody who wasn't noble. Actually, you could be killed in olden times because you had a sword, because you had a weapon. That's why if you look at old paintings, the peasants are rising up with pitchforks, with, shovels, with things like that, because those were the only weapons they were allowed. It's not because they couldn't make themselves weapons if they wanted to, if they could. So here with the sword, there's power, there's intensity, there's nobility, there's focus, and there's insight. Now is the time to embrace that. Now is the time to embrace ourselves. Also in the public arena, we can have a person come in who has more masculine energy about them. Somebody who is very nurturing, somebody who could be a little bit too emotional or emotionally charged when making decisions. This person will have us see things differently, but also very much remind us of the past. Okay, and we might actually like this person because, wow, they really remind me of somebody that I liked in the past, but we have to be mindful of the doors that they're opening. And the Queen of Swords says to be ourselves, but also to be that warrior, to stand in defense of what we want and what we desire and where we're headed. The Sun, we can find ourselves working very, very hard during the day. And I know that sounds like a no-brainer because, you work during the day, but there is going to be a different intensity towards it. There's going to be a different focus, a different goal, a different way of seeing what we are working towards and what we are setting out to accomplish. So do be mindful of that. So let's look at what the moon has to say for herself during this time. How will Scorpio be affected by the June 2021 full moon? No, Scorpio. How will Libra be affected? There we go. By the June 2021 full moon. How will Libra be affected by the June 2021 full moon? Angels and spirit guides, show me clearly. Guide this reading and show me clearly. Angels and spirit guides. Angels and spirit guides. Show me clearly. Guide this reading and show me clearly. Angels and spirit guides. How will Libra be affected by the June 2021 full moon? How will Libra be affected by the June 2021 full moon? Angels and spirit guides, show me clearly. Guide this reading and show me clearly. Angels and spirit guides. Angels and spirit guides. Show me clearly. Guide this reading and show me clearly. Angels and spirit guides. Fantastic. So at our root is communication is key and fruition. Balance spirituality with practicality along with fear. Your commitment is being tested. Focus. Oh, I see how they're doing it. Okay. Don't let pride get in the way. Wisdom. So that's it. Communication is key. The moon is saying communication is key. Fruition. It brings to fruition what we speak about, what we desire. The communication, we're going to think, okay, it's talking with others. Yes, that's important. But it's also the way that we talk to ourselves. It's the words that root us. It's the tenacity that we have, the insight that we have, the focus, the fire, the power that we have. It brings us to the public, into kind of like the public domain of out of our roots and then into our inner self. So it brings us to balance the spiritual and the practical, which is what this moon is all about. It's about the practical Capricorn and the spiritual Cancer coming together. And it has us embracing and focusing on our fear. How do we embrace our spiritual side? How do we embrace our practical side? And how does that make us face what we are afraid of? What does that bring forward for us? And then brings us into our emotional state, which is your commitment is being tested. Focus. Your commitment is being tested. What you want in the long term is being tested, is being poked and prodded at and, made to feel like, okay, it might not be enough, or okay, like maybe I'm doing something wrong. Focus on where you want to be. Focus on who you are. Focus on your intentions, and let the world have their opinions. Sometimes it's so hard, especially when you get into this seeker mode. You get into this sense of, I'm looking for something more within my life, or I'm looking for a sign. And then things start coming forward. People start saying things, and we start taking them really to heart, because maybe that's my sign. Maybe this is what I should be listening to. Or maybe we hear everything that the world has to say, and we listen to our hearts. We listen to our souls. We listen to our connection with divinity. And we say, but this is me. Right or wrong, this is who I am, and this is what I need in my life. And it leads us to the public arena, which is don't let pride get in the way, which is important. Don't let the ego take over. Don't let pride take over. And that's wisdom. That is wisdom, to know when pride is taking over, when ego is taking over. Our subconscious chakra message is communication. At our roots, that is key. This is the third chakra. It's knowing that we're communicating on higher levels. We're also watching everything. Everything becomes a communication. Everything becomes a part of the puzzle, a key. So during this time, communication is going to be profoundly important. But we're also going to have to realize that what we're bringing to the table, okay? What we're bringing to the table is like this hypersensitivity to the words that are spoken, to the body language, to the auras, to the intentions. And what we have to be aware of is that that person might not be bringing all of that to the table. They might be just saying, what they need to say, and they're surrounded by the emotional feeling of, I'm having a crappy day, everything is so hard, everything is so overwhelming, I can't believe this, and you're going to be picking up on it. And it's going to make you feel responsible in some way. And we have to step back from that. We do. So just being aware of that, and also communicating with spirit, with ourselves subconsciously, saying, this is what I need, this is what I want, this is what I desire, this is what my heart longs for right now. It leads us to our subconscious energy to be mindful of, and that's the King of Pentacles, Earth sign energy, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. So Capricorn, the full moon in Capricorn, we need to be mindful of going to extremes during this time, subconsciously being ruled only by emotion or being ruled only by success and practicality. So the King of Pentacles is this passion, is this success, is a success-oriented drive. And we can move in both directions. And we can be very drawn to people in both arenas, in both directions during this time, especially if we feel like, okay, emotionally I'm getting too drained, I'm getting too overwhelmed. I want to be around people who are more analytical, who are more driven-based, who are much more focused with the way that they are rising within life, because I want to rise that same way, or I want to have that same success. And we have to kind of step back from that, because that can become something that we focus on, and that can become the only focus. So extremes during this time are going to be something that we're absolutely capable of. This then leads us to our subconscious rooted message, which is the Ace of Swords. God, Source, Spirit, however you see the divine, the universe, is handing you a gift of knowledge and of insight. Handing you a gift, Libra, just for you, because you are represented by the swords. And this is cutting through doubts and fears. This is knowing where we stand. This is knowing what we want. This is fiercely going after what we desire. And there's a sense of the steel being forged, a sense of this ringing truth guiding us, and us cutting our way to that truth. Our subconscious inner self, is the Three of Pentacles. We have to work with others. We have to collaborate. Now, if that's just with spirit, if that's just collaborating with spirit and saying, okay, how do we work together? How do we move this forward? What do I need to work out within me? This can also be collaborating with others, seeing how working with others have helped us along the way, even if it's just working with one person, how we've had that springboard, that back and forth, and how that's important. Also, it's not giving everybody else the credit. And it's not saying, oh, I've done this all myself. So we have to find that balance too during this time. It's all about balance this time. Then we have our subconscious emotional self, which is the Empress, creation, bringing something forward, birthing something into the world, creating something powerful. The waters are running. We are being inspired. We're looking at things more openly, more honestly, more powerfully for ourselves. The Empress comes. She's crowned with the stars. The heavens crown us as we create. Can we create with that light, with the astral light, with the light of inspiration? And can we nurture that inspiration? It leads us to our subconscious inner self. Not inner self, my gosh. Okay, so the public arena here, with our inner self and our inner self in the public arena, these things are going to play in on each other. Our inner self is going to come out into the public arena, and the public arena self is going to come into the inner self. So just be mindful of that. It can feel confusing at times, but it is going to be important. In the public arena, we have the Ten of Pentacles, prosperity that lasts for generations, bounty and abundance. Our subconscious Luna message is blossoming right here, and bringing love into the situation, which is the new moon in Aquarius. So we are blossoming during this time and bringing love into the situation, bringing love and hope and joy and bounty and so much more into our world, because we're having to balance this out. We're having to see things much more clearly than before. And that's going to be intense. No joke. It's going to be more than we imagined it would be. All right, Libra. I hope this reading has resonated with you. I wish you nothing but light, love, peace, and happiness. May harmony always be with you. I'm sending loving, healing energy to each and every one of you. I love you all, and stay safe. Let's end this reading with a meditation, a clearing away of negative energy, a raising of our positive energy as we embrace the beauty and the power of this full moon. So take a nice deep breath in, exhaling whenever it feels comfortable for you. May you move forward in peace and in harmony, Libra, and may you have a blessed moon.